Once upon a time, in the heart of winter, when snow covered the world like a soft white blanket, a queen sat by her ebony-framed window sewing. Outside, the flakes drifted slowly from the sky, each one unique and delicate. As the queen worked, her needle pricked her finger, and 3 bright drops of blood fell upon the snow resting on the sill. The sight of the red upon the white, framed by the dark black wood, was so striking that she whispered softly to herself, "I wish for a child with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony." Not long after, her wish came true. The queen gave birth to a daughter, and the child was exactly as she had wished. Her skin white as snow, her lips red as blood, her hair dark as night. The king and queen named her Snow White. But happiness was brief, for the queen soon fell ill and passed away, leaving the king and his newborn daughter alone in their silent, sorrowful castle. A year passed, and the king took a new wife. The new queen was beautiful beyond measure, but her heart was cold and filled with pride. She could not bear the thought of anyone being more beautiful than herself. She owned a magical mirror, framed in gold and glass like the surface of still water. Every morning she stood before it and asked, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" And the mirror always replied, "You, my queen, are the fairest of all." These words pleased her greatly, for they fed her vanity and made her heart swell with pride. Years went by, and Snow White grew into a kind and gentle girl. Her beauty blossomed like springtime, soft, pure, and bright. She was loved by all who saw her. Even the servants, who often walked on tiptoe around the proud queen, smiled when Snow White passed. Her kindness warmed hearts as easily as her laughter filled the halls. By the time she was 7, her beauty already outshined that of the queen. And one morning, when the queen once again asked her mirror the question she loved most, the mirror gave an answer that would change everything. "You are fair, O queen. It's true," it said softly, "but Snow White is fairer than you." The queen's face turned pale as ivory, and her eyes burned with fury. Her jealousy turned to hatred, and hatred to madness. From that day on, she could not look upon Snow White without feeling rage boil inside her. She plotted in silence until one dark morning she summoned a huntsman to her chambers. Her voice was cold as she gave her dreadful order. "Take Snow White into the forest, kill her, and bring me her heart as proof." The huntsman obeyed, for he feared the queen, but his heart was heavy. He led the innocent child deep into the forest, where the trees stood like dark sentinels and the air grew thick with shadows. When he raised his knife, Snow White looked up at him with eyes full of fear and tears. "Please, dear huntsman, do not harm me," she pleaded softly. "Let me go, and I promise I will never return." The man's hand trembled. Her innocence melted the hardness in his heart. He could not do it. He lowered his knife, whispering, "Run, child, run far away, and never come back." Snow White fled into the depths of the forest, her heart pounding, her tears falling onto the mossy ground. To deceive the queen, the huntsman killed a wild boar instead, took its heart and brought it back to the castle. Believing Snow White was dead, the queen smiled, satisfied and cruel. But in the forest, Snow White wandered alone. The trees seemed alive, their branches reached out like claws. The wind howled through the trunks, and shadows darted in every direction. She ran until she could run no more, until the forest opened suddenly into a small clearing bathed in gentle sunlight. There, nestled between mossy rocks, stood a tiny cottage. Snow White pushed open the door and peered inside. The room was neat and cozy. On the table were 7 small plates, 7 cups, and 7 wooden spoons. By the wall stood 7 tiny beds lined up in a row. Exhausted, she sat down and ate a little bread from each plate, sipped a little milk from each cup, and finally lay down on one of the small beds. It was just the right size, and before she knew it, she was fast asleep. That night, as the moon climbed high, 7 dwarves returned home from the mines. They carried lanterns and pickaxes, their boots dusty from the day's work. When they entered their little house, they immediately noticed something was amiss. "Who's been sitting in my chair?" one asked. "Who's eaten from my plate?" another added. "Who's been drinking from my cup?" cried the youngest. Then they saw her, the sleeping girl with skin as pale as snow and hair as dark as night. They gathered around her, mesmerized by her beauty. "She's so beautiful," one whispered. "Let her sleep," said another, and so they let her rest peacefully. In the morning, Snow White awoke and gasped in surprise at the sight of the 7 little men standing by her bed. But their eyes were kind and their voices soft. She told them her story, the wicked queen, the huntsman who spared her, and her long journey through the forest. The dwarves listened with care. Finally, their leader said, "If you will keep our home tidy and cook and sew and wash for us, you may stay here safely. We will protect you." Snow White smiled with gratitude. She said, "Thank you." From that day on, she lived happily with them. Each morning, the dwarves went to the mines, and before they left, they warned her, "Be careful, Snow White. Don't open the door for anyone. Your stepmother will soon find out you are still alive." Back in the castle, the queen stood before her mirror once more. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" she demanded. And the mirror replied, "You are fair, O Queen, it's true," it said softly, "but Snow White beyond the hills with the 7 dwarfs is fairer still." The queen's fury returned like fire. She disguised herself as an old peddler woman, her beauty hidden beneath wrinkles and rags. She filled a basket with ribbons and laces, then set out into the forest. When she arrived at the dwarves' cottage, she called out sweetly, "Lovely laces for sale, beautiful ribbons." Snow White, thinking her harmless, opened the door. "Oh, how pretty," she said, admiring the ribbons. "Let me lace you up, dearie," crooned the old woman. But as soon as the lace tightened, Snow White gasped for breath and fell to the floor. The queen's eyes gleamed as she slipped away into the woods. When the dwarves returned that evening, they found her lying motionless. "What has happened?" they cried. They cut the laces and color returned to her cheeks. "That was your stepmother," said the eldest dwarf. "She will not stop until you are gone. Never open the door again." But the queen's mirror betrayed her secret once more. Snow White beyond the hills with the 7 dwarves is fairer still. Enraged, the queen disguised herself again, this time as an old woman selling golden combs. "Pretty combs for your lovely hair," she sang. Snow White looked through the window but did not open the door. "No need, child," said the old woman. "Just look from your window. Such beautiful hair deserves to shine." Tempted, Snow White took the comb, and the moment it touched her hair, she collapsed once again. When the dwarves returned, they found the poisoned comb and threw it into the fire. Snow White revived once more, frightened but alive. "She'll never rest," warned the dwarves. "Promise us, Snow White, never open the door." But the queen's envy burned hotter than ever. In her tower, she brewed her final spell, crafting a beautiful red and white apple. The red side gleamed with deadly poison. Dressed as a humble farmer's wife, she set out a den, her heart pounding with wicked triumph. "Delicious apples," she called, "fresh from the orchard." Snow White peered out, remembering the dwarf's warning. "I must not let anyone in," she said. "That's all right, dearie," said the woman. "Here, I'll cut the apple in half. You eat the red side and I'll eat the white." Snow White hesitated. The apple looked harmless, beautiful even. She took a bite. A moment later, she fell lifeless to the floor. When the dwarfs came home, they found her still, her eyes closed, her hands folded. They tried everything, washing her with water and wine, calling her name, weeping, but she did not stir. Her skin was still as white as snow, her lips still red as blood, but her heart no longer beat. With great sorrow, they built a coffin of glass and gold and laid her inside it upon the mountain. Day and night, they kept watch over her, mourning their beloved friend. Time passed, the forest changed with the seasons, but Snow White did not. Her beauty remained untouched, as if she merely slept. One day, a prince riding through the forest saw the coffin glimmering in the sunlight. He read the golden letters engraved upon it, "Snow White, daughter of a king." He gazed at her face and whispered, "I cannot leave her here, alone. Let me take her with me to my castle. I will honor her forever." The dwarfs, seeing his pure heart, agreed. As the prince's men carried the coffin down the path, they stumbled on a root. The jolt dislodged a small piece of apple from Snow White's throat. She gasped and opened her eyes. "Where am I?" she asked softly. The prince knelt beside her. "You are safe now. Come with me." Not long after, Snow White and her prince were married in a grand celebration. Bells rang, music filled the air, and the dwarfs were honored guests at the royal feast. Joy returned to the kingdom, brighter than before. Far away, the queen once again asked her mirror, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" And the mirror replied, "You, my queen, are fair, it's true, but the new queen is fairer than you." The queen's blood ran cold. Still, she had to see. She traveled to the wedding, cloaked in pride and curiosity, and there she saw Snow White, alive, radiant, and crowned in gold. Her punishment was swift. As a lesson for her cruelty, she was forced to wear red-hot iron shoes and dance until her pride and envy were gone forever. When it was over, peace settled upon the kingdom at last. Snow White and her prince ruled with kindness and wisdom. The 7 dwarfs visited often, always welcome guests of the castle. And so, the girl once hunted through the forest became a queen beloved by all. Her story became a song sung to children across generations, the story of innocence, courage, and the triumph of love over envy. Because even in a world shadowed by jealousy, goodness shines brightest, and a heart pure as snow will always find its dawn. And so, Snow White and her prince lived happily ever after. And that is the story of Snow White, a tale of beauty, kindness, and courage that reminds us all that love is stronger than envy and that kindness, even when forgotten, always returns. If you enjoyed this story, don't let the magic end here. Give this tale a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Nini Nights for more enchanting bedtime stories. Ring the bell icon so you never miss another magical adventure. Because every night deserves a story, and every story